Step into the Incense and Whiskey sanctuary with mindfulness enthusiasts and verified whiskey lovers, Mecca and Ashley, as they discuss all the random topics they love, from mindfulness to memes. This is Ashley.
And this is Mecca.
Hey, Mecca.
Ashley, I think we both love a great drink and a great story. Putting that together gives us the Whiskey Chronicles.
Absolutely. Tell me, Mecca, what's your favorite cocktail?
My favorite is a whiskey smash.
Really? I can definitely make that happen for you.
Perfect.
Okay, it is time for the Whiskey Chronicles. And are you ready for me to, are you ready to get in this drink? I have a recipe for us.
I'm ready.
Are you ready for a drink? Okay.
I'm ready for a drink.
I hope that this is light and refreshing. I know some people would say, whiskey, it's the summertime, not really sure. I am going to walk us through how to make a classic whiskey smash.
I'm loving it.
So you like it? You ready? The ingredients for this will need 7 fresh mint leaves, a half of a lemon, 1 tablespoon of simple syrup. And for anybody out there, simple syrup is nothing but sugar and water. So please don't go try to buy this.
Yeah,
and a 1/4 cup of bourbon and crushed ice. Please choose any bourbon of your choosing. We will definitely not say no to the bourbon. So once you have all your ingredients together, the recipe preparation would call for taking a muddler or just a spoon, the handle of something in your kitchen, mashing up those 7 fresh mint leaves, taking your lemon half, which you would have quartered lengthwise, and a tablespoon of simple syrup into a 16-ounce mixing glass or cocktail shaker. Shake that up 4 to 5 times. Mash that up 4 to 5 times just to release the juices and the oils all together. And then you would add your 1/4 cup of bourbon. Transfer that into an old-fashioned glass or whatever you have.
Ooh.
Fill that halfway with crushed ice, stir, and then put a little bit more crushed ice on top, and you can garnish with any extra mint you have. And I would say there's your whiskey smash.
That sounds really, really good.
It's pretty straightforward too as a drink. You only have, outside of the bourbon, you would really only need 3 ingredients, which are your mint leaves, your lemon, and your simple syrup, which we all probably have sugar and water at home.
I have a
It's a pretty simple drink.
Okay, so bourbon and whiskey.
Yeah.
Are they one and the same, or?
They are not the same. So a rule of thumb that I like to follow as a Kentucky girl and as an executive bourbon steward is that all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon. That is the rule.
Say that again.
So all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon.
Okay.
So it's a thing.
Okay.
So I know your next question. The next question is what qualifies as a bourbon, correct?
Yep.
Is that the question?
Yep.
Okay. So the myth, let me just go ahead and get the myth out the way. The myth is that it has to have been made in Kentucky to be bourbon. Okay. Not true. However, about 97% of the world's bourbon is actually produced in Kentucky.
How much percent?
About 97%.
Oh, wow.
Actually.
So then
it's a very high percentage.
Is the other 3? What's the other 3% made?
Other places throughout the world, there's bourbon makers in Chicago. Bourbon is really hot in Japan as well. Okay. But over 90% of the world's bourbon is made in Kentucky. Okay. And for it to qualify as bourbon, it has to be, the composition has to be over 50% corn. That is what differentiates, the main differentiator, in my opinion, between bourbon and whiskey.
Corn just keep on going.
Corn, just, and there's a lot of corn. I grew up in Kentucky. There's a lot of corn in Kentucky. And so naturally it makes sense.
It makes sense.
So over 50% corn. The other composition can be made up of wheat, rye, all those grains that you want to be trying to, if you want a little bit more spice and you have a little bit more rye, if you want a little bit more of a smooth finish, you maybe have more wheat. Yeah, but we can definitely talk through the bourbon distilling aging process, but that's definitely the difference between whiskey and bourbon. So today, it's strange that we're having you make a whiskey smash and you're making it with bourbon.
Because you
But
said all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon.
correct, Mecca. Ding, 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 ding. You made
Okay.
it to the bonus round.
All right. All right.
Okay. All right. So now that we have our cocktails made, it's story time. Are you ready for the Whiskey Chronicle?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
Right.
So I have a story to tell you. It's story time in the Whiskey Chronicles. So as some of you may know, I am long partnered up, let the record reflect. But back in my dating days, I had many an interesting date setup. So in the banks of my memory, I pulled out this gem that I wanted to share with you all. And I have to tell you about this time that I went on a date. It was definitely a Tinder date. And let's be clear, this was when Tinder was like people were actually meeting people and not just like
It was
who can
respectable.
take the clothes off the fastest.
Okay.
It was definitely like we're still dating. Tinder was new.
It was a respectable date.
It was a respectable date. Wait, am I dating myself now, like, to say that? I wonder what that will be like in the future to say, like, I use this dating app when, regardless. I had matched with the guy. Don't remember his name. That's neither here nor there. But we had agreed to meet at a restaurant down in the Loop of Chicago. So we met. I came straight after work, I think. Pretty sure I was wearing like a black dress situation. And I was waiting and I had like a general sense of what this guy looked like. But of course, the photo was not that great because we're talking the early days of apps. And this guy walks in, he walks up to me and he's got this look like, are you here to meet someone? And I was like, yeah, I'm waiting for so-and-so. At the time I remembered his name. And he kind of just looked confused and was like, okay, went up to the host and told the host, we're here, we're ready to be seated. We're walking through the,
You met the guy. He asked you, were you looking for him?
He's like, are you here to meet someone? Are you here waiting for someone? I was like, yeah, I'm waiting for so-and-so, fill in name. And so I don't know if he heard me or what, but he definitely looked confused and was just like, okay, like this is who I'm supposed to be meeting. And we go to the host. The host is walking us through the restaurant. And I'm getting the sense that like something is wrong based on his energy. He's like looking around. He keeps looking back at me. He looks very confused. I'm also like looking him up and down, and the dress code was just off, Mecca.
What was the
like,
what did he have on?
he was wearing like a t-shirt with a plaid. It was also like summertime, so this was unclear to me. He was wearing like a plaid button up over it with jeans and some sneakers. And this was a nicer restaurant. And mind you, again, came right after work. So I was in like, black dress setup. And I was just like, this is interesting. Like, this is not the person that I would normally this is not the first date setup that I would normally want to walk into. And this doesn't seem to match the vibe of the person I was chatting with, right? So I was just like confusing something intuitively, you got that woman's intuition, something intuitively told me like, no, you really need to check with this man and find out if he's who you think he is. So I stopped him again and said, excuse me, I'm looking for fill in the name, so-and-so. Are you so-and-so? And he's like, well, I'm looking for fill in some other girl's name. And you're not her? No, sir, I'm not. Absolutely. So I walked through this restaurant.
Had already walked through the restaurant to go find your seat.
Yes, I walked through this restaurant with someone who was not my date. And I was like, okay, this is bizarre, strange situation. So I'm like, all right, good luck with your date. Like, is this what you can expect from Tinder dates? And I go home. I go home. I go back to the front and I'm waiting for my date. And then another gentleman walks in and he's like looking around. He's in a nice suit, a very nice suit. He's well put together. And he looks to me and he says, "Hey, are you Ashley? I'm looking for Ashley." And I was like, "Yes, I'm Ashley." This is the man. This is the kind of man I'd be expecting to go on a first date with, right?
Okay.
He's all put together. He's suave. He's like, comes in with this energy. Like, yes, I'm the man you're supposed to be with.
I love it.
I already called ahead. This is where we're going. Our table should be over in this corner. And I was like, yes, Lord, that's who I'm supposed to be with. And needless to say, we did not continue seeing one another, but it was a pleasant, lovely first date and my first learning experience with getting catfished in real life.
I think that is hilarious. You know what could have happened? You guys could have, you know what could have happened?
What could have happened?
You guys could have been on your date and, you know, you could have given him that little backstory that you just told us about meeting this guy that was the wrong guy and kikiing it up about that. Because he would have been like, oh, why didn't
Mr. Right, with the right guy.
Yeah, why didn't you just text me if I had made it there? And then you would have told him why I hadn't texted you. And then you guys could have just been like laughing about that. And midway through the evening, the original guy that walked with you through the restaurant that was the wrong date could have come up and be like, oh, there you are, Ashley. You know, I was looking for you. And then you would have been like, what? He was like,
no!
I know we just met or whatever. I know we just met randomly and I was the wrong person, but I mean, you were really nice to even like go through that whole process. And I wasn't really sure if your date had come back. Oh, wait, is this him right here? And then then he would have like asked if he can sit down and have a drink with you guys. And then your guy would have been so like floored. He would have been like, of course, come sit with us, have a drink. And then this became a 3-person table having a cocktail, laughing over Tinder. Like,
oh my God! If that had been what really happened, Mecca, oh my God, I don't know.
And then I don't know. Let's say guy one. Guy one is the guy that you mistaken for your real date. So guy one is explaining how his date never showed up. And then finally he says his date's name, but this is real date's sister. Real date's sister is
this is getting out of control.
One date that never showed up. So then
this is out of control. You got a wild memory, a wild imagination.
Real date would have text his sister and be like, "What's going on? Where you at? We all at the bar, or we all at the spot having a drink."
So suddenly this turned into a group date situation that involves family members, and wow, this is wild.
Wouldn't that be hilarious?
It would be definitely a night to remember, and I'm glad it did not happen that way, but it definitely would have been a good story. That would have been the part 2 of the Whiskey Chronicle.
That would have been part 2 of the Whiskey Chronicles. Did you guys have a whiskey on the date?
We did, actually. That date and I had a lot in common, including our preferences for alcoholic beverages, and I think we had like the same brand of watches too. Like we were into the same watch brand.
Oh, okay. Really, but just to note that this is not the date that ended in anything except for beyond that night.
No, I never saw him again. I don't even think we actually spoke again, but it was definitely a great story. And I'm glad I got to share it with you on the Whiskey Chronicle.
Fully enjoyed. Okay, Ashley, have you ever wanted to know when you pass by liquor stores, you always see like liquor and spirits or spirit store or something of that nature?
Yeah, I actually have wondered this. I have no clue why, but I do want to know. So tell me, why is that, Mecca?
There's a few myths out there and a few like answers. Some of them are dated um towards the monks in Europe from the 21st century. Some of it is Middle Eastern alchemists. Um, but I'll kind
Okay.
of give you what I've done. I've done a little research on this, and I'll kind of give you the piece that I've learned. So basically, when I say alcohol, I'm gonna spell out the way the Greek I'm gonna spell this out for you. So one of the
Okay.
theories is that the word alcohol derives from alcohol, Ghawl, which
Okay.
which straightforward, that word Ghawl means gall, like gall, spirits, ghost.
Oh,
So the most straightforward way to think of it is that alcohol and spirits, as the word alcohol means spirits, and it's also referenced like in the Quran, where they mention that alcohol is referred to as a demon or spirits that produce intoxication. Um,
okay.
and so that's one piece of it. Another piece is how this distillation, am I saying that right? Am I saying that
Yeah,
right?
the distillation process.
Okay, happens within an alcohol, and how the alcohol has mind altering properties that help open up the gateway of various uh, areas in our mind. So it's like a mind
Okay.
altering piece. I want to ask you, what's the like distillation process with bourbon?
Yeah, so with bourbon, you're gonna start off with your alcohol, and that's usually like the custom liquor. Think of vodka. Like you're gonna
Okay.
start with your liquor. It's usually clear. It's called White Dog,
Mm-hmm.
and that's gonna be like some family recipe or some recipe you've gotten typically. And then you're adding that to what's called the mash. So your mash is your composition of corn to wheat to rye, etc., for fermentation. And then you are distilling that in either a copper distillation device. There's all kinds of different, there's concrete ones, but
Oh wow.
you're
Okay.
distilling that in like a distilling device.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll come up with proper terminology. I'm going to try to make this real simple right now.
Okay.
And what you're doing in the distillation process is you're releasing alcohols, right? So you have the heads, the hearts, and the tails in the distillation process in terms of alcohol that you're releasing.
Okay.
And um, the heads is like that. Really strong, acidic, think acetone nail polish remover alcohol that you're
Okay.
releasing. The hearts are really like the sweet spot, the alcohol that you want to kind of maintain and capture. And then at the bottom are those like really harsh, you don't want any of that nasty alcohol fume. Like it's the fumes that you're releasing. So throughout the releasing process, you're going to get some combination of them, but the hope is that you kind of siphon off as much of
The
the
head, yeah.
heads, yes, the nasty fumes that you don't want. So that's the distillation process, plain and simple, in a nutshell.
Okay, that almost makes sense to the next point then. So you said that the head, if I sum this up, the heads and the tails is kind of what you want to, you don't want a ton of that in your
Right, you want to
alcohol,
minimize
but you
them.
want to probably have more of the heart. And
Correct.
but some alcohol or most alcohol has a little bit of all three, but mostly heart, but they do have some of the tail and the head
Right,
aspect.
you do. Yeah, you can't avoid it. There's going to be some combination of them.
So you said something like that the head and the tails, these are things that they're trying to release. So from another piece that I've read, like one of the like monks in the 12th century, they talk about that they believe the spirit was removed from the mashing part, the distillation um
Mm.
portion of like a rye whiskey when they're getting ready to do the distillation, that there was parts of the spirit removed from that process. That doesn't say like the head or the tail of the term that you use, but there was a part of it removed. And they also mentioned that whenever you open up a bottle of this for the very first time, this particular group of people, they kind of pour out the first shot in order to give the angels a bit of their share or whatever, right?
You know, that is so funny because in bourbon, when the bourbon is placed in the barrel and then it's stored, there's always a portion of the bourbon that evaporates from the barrel.
Oh, wow.
And so when you go into like the storage units where these barrels are, you'll smell it, and it smells amazing. It smells like really sweet, and it's releasing those like top notes. Mm-hmm. And that is called the angel's share.
Shut up.
So that is called the angel share. Yes.
No,
the connection
are you
is
serious?
real. I'm not lying. Yes. You can go to any bourbon like distillery, or if you wanted to, that you'll smell that. You'll go into a room with all the barrels, and it's called the angel share. Yeah, they'll say like, this is the part the angels take.
Okay, so we're right on point. I love that.
Yes,
I love that.
Connected.
And the one last piece that I've read is that the very simple explanation. One may believe that consuming alcohol or liquor raises one's spirits.
Well, I agree with that.
That was another little corny boop boop for you.
I love that though.
Yeah, so that gives you a little tidbit on why we call liquors spirits.
I love it. Thanks for sharing, Mecca.
You are absolutely welcome.
Catch us next time on Incense and Whiskey.
In the meantime, take a breath, have a sip.